It's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this.
But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United, the National League, are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. I'm your host Mike, and joining me tonight is definitely Steve and maybe Mark. We'll find out in a minute. We're going to be talking about the defeat to Northampton. That'll do. And we're going to look forward ahead to the Colchester match, if we can be allowed to look forward to games at the moment. Steve, last time you were on was after a great late victory. I think it was against Swindon. How have you been?
Busy. Loads going on. Not least following two football teams collapsing in a horrible heap at the end of the season. It's from a footballing perspective, it's been pretty miserable lately. But at least sort of being back in the country now, I've got the ability to actually go and witness the awfulness in person, which at least means that there are pubs and that sort of thing available to distract.
You can be cold and miserable, not just miserable.
Yeah. Although it's nice and warm today, so
it is. There was me last night bitching and moaning about the mini heat wave that we were promised, and it was nice on Monday, cold last night. It's nice again today. I don't know what's going on. I must hate Sutton United fans.
Saw us coming.
Exactly. And we'll find out now if his microphone's magically fixed itself. But Mark, hello, how are you?
Oh, hi there. Is it coming through now?
It is coming through. Perfect. Hey. So it's the debut for Mark. So, Mark, as it's the debut, and I bet you're going to glad you did this, now you get to tell us who you are. So, who are you?
I'm Mark, normally known as Mark T these days. First went to Sutton 94-95 season. Was a occasional visitor for several years due to shift work, but now regular season ticket holder for the last 6-7 years, and volunteer in the shop, turnstiles, sometimes do tickets, and also occasional painting crew.
Yeah, turnstile number 1, which is a very important job, because that's the one that I come in and queue up and wait at number 1 because I can't go in the others at the moment. Mind you, it's not mattering at the moment, so I can probably change it up at some point. Right, I haven't done any sort of club news at all because I've been busy at work, so if there is anything that's happened, I'll pick it up later in the week. On the match, it was dramatic changes from Matt. 4 changes from the team that started the last game. What were your thoughts ahead of kickoff, Steve, with all the changes?
I think we're kind of into that stage of the season now where you've got a lot of players who are coming to the end of their contracts, and some are potentially playing for new deals. Some perhaps know they're moving on. Whether that's kind of upwards or downwards is kind of open to debate with some players, I guess. But I think it just needs a bit of a freshen up. Obviously, playing a midweek game off the back of playing the league leaders on Saturday, always likely to be a few changes. I think. Obviously, Ben Goodliff coming back in, having missed Saturday due to his missus giving birth. Good to see him back, and he seemed. Didn't seem to be showing a lack of sleep, at least. So that's quite quite a surprise. But yeah, I think realistically that lineup was looking okay. I mean, the midfield has kind of been the concern for the last month or so whenever Craig Eastman's not around, and that was the kind of pre-match fear again. I think in this run of games where we're basically playing all the teams at the top. But actually, to be fair, that first half, I thought Harry and Ali did really well in midfield. They were dominating, which did surprise me, because I mean, Northampton have basically been in the top 3 or 4 for basically since week 1, week 2. They've not really moved, and yet, like before last night, we've not seen them really do anything in games against us. And first half was kind of more of the same, really. It was only second half that they stepped it up a little bit. We didn't quite come out really at the start of the second half, and to be honest, I mean that 10-15 minute spell straight after half time is where we lost the game. Unfortunately,
we'll come back to that. Mark, what was your sort of thoughts? I know you don't get to watch the early exchanges, but what was your thoughts sort of ahead of kick-off when you heard the team news?
Well, I thought we the team was quite strong. I was quite impressed with the layout that we managed to get going for this game. But I think half time came up. We deserved that at 1-1. The long throw, the goal from the long throw threw me. Sorry, I must have upset Matt a fair bit, I would have thought, because I'm pretty sure he would have practised against that. But I think the midfield was strong in the first half, very much. Works extremely hard. Ali and Harry especially worked very hard, I thought.
Well, Steve, we were standing together, and there was several times we were kind of looking around going, hang on, what's going on here? And we're passing the ball around, we're moving well, everything seems to be dropping for us. Then there was some couple horrible bobbles and stuff, but it was very un-Sutton-like the first sort of 30 minutes or so. Were you expecting a good night, or were you just waiting for the inevitable?
Well, kind of at that point, you're kind of thinking, oh, okay, this is going well, but we need to kind of take advantage of this dominance. Ali obviously had that great volley off the post from 20-25 yards, which I think if that goes in, he's basically won goal of the season right at the very last. And yeah, we created 2 or 3 decent openings, didn't quite take any of them. Which, I mean, let's be honest, that's been the story of the season, hasn't it? Not scoring enough goals. Not converting chances that we've created. But I think I saw on the stats we had something like 65% possession, which, I mean, I can only think that's happened in games where we've been up against 10 men for the majority of a game, because that's not really our way. We don't like to kind of mess about with it at the back. We want to. I mean, we're a little bit direct at times, but largely we're trying to get the ball into wide areas quickly. And actually, we were able to play through the middle and sort of between the lines quite a lot. Northampton seemed a little bit disorganised that first half, I thought. Even though obviously their league position suggests that they should be of a higher standard. They were neat and tidy in possession, but didn't really do an awful lot with it when they got it. So it was pretty bloody annoying to concede to. Archetypal League 2 long throw-in that just bounces in the 6-yard box.
I mean, Dan literally preceded it with, that's how you take a fuck's sake. And that's what a long throw is supposed to look like. So yeah, it sounds silly. I mean, they do have a huge injury crisis, very similar to ours, I think. I think they've got 7 or 8, in fact, maybe even higher than that, number of starters out, which might have shown why they were not.
They've got a bigger budget to cope with that sort of thing, haven't they?
Yeah. But took the lead possibly against the run of play, which again sounds really, really daft. But one person last night who impressed me, I don't know whether it was the whole new contract thing you were saying or to attract another club, but Donovan was battling away. Mark, what did you think of Donovan's first half performance, which he capped it with a goal at the very death?
I always think Donovan's always worked hard anyway, for little reward at times. I personally think sometimes we need to play him off of Omar a bit more rather than the other way round. which it appears to be. I'm not saying I'm an expert in tactics, but it appears that way to me. Sometimes I think we need to get Omar and lay it off to him and let him use that pace and aggression that he has got and that stamina he can get forward in. I think he would get more goals that way.
Yeah, we were similar again. Like, yes, he hasn't had a great return, but we don't play to his strengths.
Yeah, exactly.
Such little service provided.
Yeah, and the service he gets, as you say, is flick-ons or balls over the top, which he's supposed to run onto, and he doesn't want it there. But he got a goal. His first goal since we played this lot back in November, October time, something like
Christ,
that.
yeah.
No one ever checks these things, it doesn't matter. But it's definitely his first goal since Northampton.
The halcyon days when we could score 2 goals in a game.
Exactly, yeah. Didn't get to see Killian because I was hoping that Killian got to come on and terrify him again because they didn't like him at all. But we got to half time, kind of reset. Always worried, to be honest, when we're shooting the wrong way in the second half. And yeah, I kind of think I said they were all just must have been sitting around the changing room going, we've done all right, haven't we? Because they came out completely off the pace. And was it 5 minutes in?
Not even that many, I don't think.
Yeah, and it was a shocker of a goal. I think we were having an attack, weren't we?
Yeah, we left it too open at the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was about 5 individual errors in the entire counter attack. It was ridiculous, and one of those errors included the terrible cross from their lad that we've managed to shank straight back into the path of the striker.
Yeah. Had it been a good cross, Jack probably.
All 3 goals were terrible from a defensive perspective. Because Donovan's equaliser was very similar to their winner, really, in the way that it just fell kindly to someone after a bit of a scramble. But other than that, we were pretty much unchallenged at the back. There was we weren't really all that concerned. And the problem was that second half we just didn't create as many chances as we did in the first. And yeah, we just weren't quite on the same pace. Obviously, had the disallowed goal. I've not seen highlights back yet, so I don't know how far offside he was. But the fact that none of our players seemed to be particularly annoyed about it suggests that it was probably a fair decision. Probably about one of the few decisions the officials got right between them on the night. I mean, good Lord, Rock.
13 minutes. 13 minutes we're into this before we've mentioned him. So I think that's quite impressive.
Well, I mean, you should have got Mark Frake on, and then you'd have had a mention like before the jingle had finished.
But
can I just say, I spoke to someone at the ground who was at the TARDIS when that goal went in, and they said it didn't look as offside as people think.
Okay, fair enough.
But I wasn't there, so it's just...
No, yeah, he's as I say, it's all the way at the other end, and it's like, I can't see it. I can barely work out what's going on when I get the camera out. But yeah, Mr. Rock, in fairness, for a little while, I seem to think he forgot he was at Sutton United, and he was all right because we were getting things, and the game was flowing. And then I think it must have been Frakey made a noise, and he realised where he was, and it brought him back into reality, and he just started going absolutely insane again. I think there were several odd ones. There were people being wrestled right in front of him, which seems to be a pattern recently because that happened again the other day as well, with someone being wrestled on the halfway line. But it was just odd. I mean, overall, what did you think of the ref, Mark? You know I don't normally bash referees, but he brought attention to himself yesterday. I
think it's just the standard of the referees in the division in general, though, to be fair. I don't think we can knock one referee over another. We've had quite a few that have done this sort of thing this year.
Yeah.
But then I'm biased.
Yeah, absolutely. And Steve, I know most of them, but what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, family podcast and all that, but good Lord. It was just so wildly inconsistent, and every single stoppage in play. I mean, a lot of the free kicks he gave were absolutely fine, not a problem. Blow the whistle, and then let's just get the game restarted again. But so many of the stoppages, he wanted to stop and have a long chat with the offending player. It's like, okay, well, if you've decided that guy's skating on thin ice, then yeah, fine. Okay, get either have that final word or at least threaten to get a card out. And yet, it wasn't until Omar breathed on someone that all of a sudden the cards start coming out. Like you booked both benches in the first half for reasons kind of unknown, and the second time when he went and booked
Jason, I think.
Booked Jason, I think. I mean, why didn't he? Like he literally walked from one side of the pitch to the other. It's like, why are you wasting so much time? And then we come on to the time aspect, where in the second half you've had all of these stoppages for talking tos and substitutions and general time wasting and all that sort of stuff, and he then adds the least amount of injury time we've had all season.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, you could rightfully put an argument that, well, we could have been playing there all night and not scored in the second half.
Yes, exactly.
But you've at least got to give us the opportunity to show how bad we are in front of goal.
I think Matt aired towards that when he did his interview after the game.
Yeah. Yep. I think I said 7 or 8 minutes. I did wonder, was there a 1 missing from the 3? And even when the 3 went up, they were taking a free kick and they still took another minute over that free kick. So it was just really, really bizarre. I mean, you rightly say we wouldn't have done anything with the extra 5 minutes because we could still be there now. But it just adds to the disappointment.
Well, yeah, I mean, who knows? It's one of those situations where things get desperate, and obviously Northampton are hanging on for dear life, knowing that a win more or less confirms them going up. I find it very difficult to believe that anyone's catching them now. Yeah. With so few games to go, so obviously someone at the back might do something daft. Yeah. And I mean, we've seen it before, haven't we? Where teams panicking and the defender or an attacker back defending does something stupid and just shoves someone over or something like that, gives us a penalty. I mean, obviously that would depend on Rock giving us a big decision, but you've at least got to sort of put the ball in the right areas and give us an opportunity to get those.
Yeah, would concede the free kick if that had happened. He would have said, "Oh, you shouldn't have tripped over his foot like that. That's outrageous." So, I mean, it's another game ticked off. The season is petering out now, which is disappointing. But I still maintain if we had this form going into that great run, and then went on the great run until the end of the season, people were saying, "Yeah, it's great to finish or get close to the top 10 towards the end of the season." So, taking it as a whole, it's still good. But we'll finish up with last night. But I do ask you, obviously, for your choices for Player of the Day. So have a little think, and I'll come back to you first of all, Mark, for your choice of your first Player of the Day.
Now watch me do my dance. I'm the Player of the Day.
Right. This is always difficult, especially when you don't necessarily have any brilliant standout performers, but it can be for any reason you like. So who's your first choice, Mark, for Player of the Day?
I would nominate Ali Smith.
Ali, lovely.
I think he worked so hard, and he was still trying to get in the box even at the end, towards the end of the game.
Perfect. And Steve, your first choice?
I'm going to go for Donovan Wilson. Obviously got the goal. Looked a lot more threatening and lively than he has done in weeks, really. Mm-hmm. So yeah, quite impressed with him, and as you say, perhaps with an eye on potential contracts.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely a favourite of Matt because we had Matt Dennis on the bench last night. So I don't know whether Matt's one of the people who was sick as well, but we don't know. Mark, who's your second choice?
Omar.
Omar?
Yeah,
that's an easy one.
I think he handled himself quite professionally yesterday. He could have been a lot worse. He was double teamed quite often, and I think at times he's a marked man.
Oh, if I was Omar, I'd be getting sent off every week. I'd just be getting so fed up with it because he just gets the shit kicked out of him every week, and he gets no protection from anyone. It's ridiculous.
We thought the sub at the end, didn't we? We thought, why are we making a sub with like seconds to go? And we're like, oh, it's going to be Omar because he's got the ump, and he went in for a tackle straight away at that point. We're like, oh, here we go, red card. It wasn't though. But Steve, who's your second and final choice?
I'm going to go for Kobe Rowe.
Kobe.
Yeah, we were. I mean, obviously, 2 frustrating goals to concede, but other than that, we were pretty much faultless at the back. Not really troubled by a side that are going to be playing League One football next season.
Yeah, and Kobe did do that brilliant thing in the first half where he kicked it over the bloke's head, won it back, and the bloke sort of touched him, and Kobe then fell over very spectacularly. Which
some fine Premier League winning of free kicks.
Yeah,
there.
very much upset him, didn't he? Because he was giving it all the 2-1 to us later on in the game as well. But okay, I'll put them out for the votes, and we will very rapidly move on to looking forward to Colchester. And joining us is Dan. And I've put Dan on mute, and I can't remember how to take him off mute. So this is brilliant. Hang on. There it is. Hello, Dan. Or Daniel, sorry.
That's all right, evening. Looking forward to Colchester is not a phrase I've heard very often. So it's a nice welcome to the show. Thank you.
You haven't been asked for a little while. So I like to just ask people, we've already done this once, so the others are going to roll their eyes, but I like to ask people a little bit about themselves, a little bit about the history, the reason why they support the club that they support. Basically, it's a section of who are you?
So I'm Daniel Woodrow. I'm a head teacher at a primary school with a specialist unit in Sudbury. So I'm a Colchester United fan, surrounded mostly by Ipswich fans in Suffolk, which isn't the best mix. I started supporting Colchester, I suppose, seriously when they were in the conference. I was at school in Colchester and we used to go and watch a lot of the games. So we're talking, early 90s, something like that. But actually, family history-wise, my granddad was the bingo caller on the coach like years and years ago. And he met my grandma when they were going to, Colchester were playing Blackpool in the FA Cup when they played against like Stanley Matthews and all of that. So if it wasn't for Colchester United, I wouldn't actually be here. So, that goes all the way back there. But been a season ticket holder with my dad for the last 20 odd years. Really enjoy the game.
Beautiful. That beats your Panini sticker story, didn't it, Steve? So, how's the season been so far? I normally say how's the highs and lows, but how have the lows and not so lows been so far this season?
Oh, it's been a crushing disappointment. It really has, if we're honest. I think it goes back a few years now. During lockdown, during the pandemic, we didn't spend any money, and our chairman was saying, but you wait, when everyone comes back, all these other clubs that have spent money, it was all a bit reckless, they'll have lost, we've been really prudent, we're going to have a top 6 budget, we're going to be able to compete. And like 3 years later, we were still waiting for it. So there was disappointment after disappointment. I suppose highs are that we've stopped recruiting from within. We had this system of just promoting, the number 2 to number 1 or the youth team coach up because we had a belief that our way of playing was the best way and no one else could follow it. But we've broken away from that with Matt Bloomfield, now the latest guy as well. So I think that's a real high. We scored 4 goals in a game the other day. We hadn't scored 4 goals in like the 10 games before that, I don't think. So that's good. And we're on an unbeaten run. So that's really encouraging. But ultimately, it's a 3rd or 4th season of just praying that there are 2 teams worse than you in the division. And I think the high probably is that, thank goodness there have been this year. So it looks like we're going to be okay and stay up now.
Some of us are very excited because you could finish above Wimbledon, so that'd be nice.
Is Johnny Jackson still manager there?
Yep.
Yeah, so he's
clinging on to his fingertips.
I mean, he was a good player for us when we were in the Championship. We like Johnny Jackson, so it would be a shame to see him go. But I would very much like to finish above them as well. So yeah.
Well, that put you solidly in the top 20. So, what are your? Who are we looking out for? Are there any players that you kind of like? He's the one that gets me off my seat, that could cause some damage.
I think Junior Chamadou's been shortlisted for the EFL Young Player of the Year. He's sort of right wing back, scored some spectacular goals. He made his debut a couple of seasons ago, but he's really come on this year, and a lot of our attacks will come through him. He's pacey. He can beat players. He's not as reckless as he was. He doesn't dive in as much, so his defence has improved as well. But I think, get the ball to Junior is the thing you'll hear a lot. So I think you should be excited by him. And we've got another young player come through called Samson Tavidi, who, again, sort of broke into the team, had made the odd substitute appearance. You were mentioning Omar and the fact that he got fouled every game and how he didn't get sent off. Well, so Samson Tavidi spends a lot of the game on the floor. And it's difficult to know whether he's the one starting the wrestling with the defenders or the one on the end of it. He doesn't seem to get that many decisions. But he's pacey and he's annoying and he's added a bit of composure now. He's started to get a decent partnership with Big John Akindi up front. So he could, if he starts, he didn't start the other day, but he's been starting for a lot. He could do really well. So, yeah, I'd look out for them.
Beautiful, beautiful. And Steve, how do you see the game panning out? How do you see it going on Saturday?
Low scoring. I think ultimately from Colchester's perspective, now I'm not sure if you're mathematically safe, but you're as good as with enough teams below. So actually, there's no pressure on anybody now. We're not making the playoffs. You're not getting relegated. So actually, it might all of a sudden turn out to be one of those absolutely ludicrous end of season games where everyone just has a bit of fun. Then we all obviously crush back down to reality, and it'll probably be a 1-0 either way. But we've got to have hopes and dreams, haven't we? That we have a little bit of end of season excitement to give us something to talk about over the summer and build up for doing it all again next year.
A 5-5 draw would sound amazing. Mark, how do you see it going?
I anticipated you might ask this, so I was thinking a 2-2 draw.
Oh, okay. Blimey, you are going for goals. I was joking.
I agree with what Steve said about it's towards the end of the season. There's not an awful lot to play for except position. And some of the players might be a bit more relaxed.
Yeah.
And may lead to a bit more skill and creativity.
Yes, interesting. The right sort of wing back. That might be why Sam was rested last night to sort of keep him fresh for playing against a young and running at him at pace. I don't know. Or would you rather Rob there, Steve?
It's a difficult one. Sam had a bit of a struggle at Bradford the other week, and I kind of thought that we might then stick with Rob for the just because of his experience. But then you've kind of also got to factor in that Hart's still got a lot more pace about him. Rob's 34, 35 now, so while he's got the experience, there's still nothing that kind of scares any sort of aging defender than someone with raw pace running past them all the time, especially if he's not getting an awful lot of support from the midfielders in front of him. Yeah. So I don't know. To be honest, it's a toss of a coin for me. To be honest, I think I'd probably stick with Rob just because then we've got the set piece output.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can make a case for either. I think at this stage.
Yeah, you could possibly make a case if Rob's fit enough, stick him to be the holding midfielder as well.
Potentially. See if Eastie's fit yet. I don't know if there's.
No,
don't know if there's any chance.
There's a chance for Carlisle, but
okay.
No earlier. And Daniel, how do you see it going from your point of view?
I don't know. On the one hand, we're really building something. We're 7 unbeaten and we've started to score goals. And on the other hand, every time you hear that a team is on a bad run, we're where other teams' bad runs come to die. We're the place that give you your confidence and off you go again. But I do think we are building. So I think things are on the up for us. And I think, 4-0 at home, we beat Salford away, we got the draw we needed. We've done everything that's been asked of us really the last 3 games. I think we'll keep it going. I'd love it to be a feast of football. But our home form generally has been pretty dire. We don't seem to have many strikers who can score that many goals. So, I don't know, 2-1. I'll take 2-1 there.
Okay, fair enough.
To us, by the way.
Yeah, we assume, don't worry. Before I do finish, and thank you all to Doug, did anyone see the end of the Gillingham-Leyton Orient match?
Yes, that was ludicrous and mental, but also very, very funny.
Yeah. Anyone who hasn't seen it is there was a lights out for I don't know how long, 10 minutes,
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, the Orient fans were very ungenerous in what they were singing about the paying the bills. But then when it all came back on, all the other games had finished. So Leyton Orient knew that they were promoted, and it didn't make any difference that they were losing 2-1. So they just kind of let Gillingham have the ball, and they got their passing stats up quite considerably. And I think it was like 16 touches for Orient players. So people are complaining all over the place. It's like, I don't know what you want them to do. They're losing. It suited both teams, so why would they go?
We had something similar with Orient. Actually, a few years ago, I think it was when they were in danger of going down. Maybe they went down. There were huge protests going on, and so the referee. I think people came on the pitch. We were in with a chance of the playoffs that year. The referee blew the whistle. We were 3-up with about 10 minutes to go. Everyone went off, and all the crowds dispersed. And we came back out about an hour and a half later in front of no fans at all. Yeah, and we just finished the game. And again, I think
last game of the season, wasn't it?
It was pretty close. Yeah, and it was similar then. Everyone just passed. No one tackled or anything like that. You just saw the game out and off you went. Yeah.
I mean, there's obviously rules to it, but that's just insane to make someone come out and play 10 minutes of a game that is 3-0. It's like, well, yeah, you've lost it. Move on.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyway, looking forward to Saturday. Season is ticking away for everyone. First time, I think Matt mentioned it, first time in a few years that we've not really had anything to be excited about the last few games of the season, but coming to the end of the season is exciting enough, and I can stop talking for a little while. So thank you all for your time. Steve, Mark, Daniel, thank you all very much for your time and your thoughts. Thanks everyone for listening. Don't forget you can like, follow, share on all the socials at Sutton Podcasts. Let me know what you think. And until Sunday, I think I'm back with the panel. I can't remember who's even on, but we will see you on Sunday. Thanks for everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
United! 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 United!